Well, he's coming to us first, and I find it flattering and interesting that he's a listener. He's going to be on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast coming up later this afternoon. I talked to Joe, by the way, this morning. Joe's going to be on with us, I think Thursday. He's got his national tour going around the country. Always great to have my friend Joe Rogan on the show. But it's funny, I talked to Joe this morning and then separately talked to John McAfee, and he was telling me that he was going to be on Joe's show. It's just a plug there. I hope they don't come after him. He's been on the phone with a Forbes writer when the police show up with armed men, and he's offering a huge reward to find out who really killed the person in Belize that they're saying he's the main suspect in. And, of course, he's the inventor of one of the most well-known antivirus software, John McAfee. And he worked for Lockheed until '87, then ventured into the antivirus business as one of the first people to understand that was a obvious problem out there with the viruses. And he joins us now. He's been on many TV shows with his different businesses down in Belize for tourists and things. And then he got raided by police in a bizarre event. And then now they're saying down there in the piratical area of former British Honduras, what is Belize, beautiful area, I've been there many times, that he's the murder suspect. Now, most of you probably already know that. John McAfee, from tech pioneer to murder suspect, is one of the headlines. McAfee on the run, murder and mayhem, but few taxes in Belize. That's Forbes. The continuing story of John McAfee is told by John McAfee. So he is speaking out. And McAfee's former girlfriend says the internet pioneer is fighting for his life. And he is on with us today. Sir, thank you for reaching out to us, because I have to tell you, when I saw this break in the last few weeks, I was like, that sounds like pure bull to me, that, what they're saying happened. Plus, the Belizean police, I've only been out there 8 or 9 times, but I've read about it. I mean, they're well known for being pretty darn corrupt, but I've seen them do some shady things in Belize City. But enough of me. You've got the floor. Good to have you here. Start at the beginning. Tell us what really happened, or as best you can tell, and where all this is going, and about the reward that people can find there on your website that I'll also put up on screen.
Well, thank you, Alex. I'm really happy to be here. This breaks my boredom tremendously. I've been living in a very constrained environment for a while, so this is quite a thrill for me. Okay, where did it start? It started the last day of April of this year, when at 6 in the morning I was woken up to the sound of bullhorns, dogs barking, and gunfire, and got out of bed, stark raving naked, went out on my porch and saw 42 armed soldiers with automatic weapons in full riot gear storming my property. When I heard the commotion, I picked up a handgun, which I keep for protection. I put the handgun down on the step, went back inside, put my pants on, woke up my girlfriend. She got up calmly, got dressed, sat on the edge of the bed. I went outside, was grabbed by a bunch of people, slammed up against the wall, and told that they were there with a search warrant for an illegal meth lab, meth meaning methamphetamines. I was handcuffed, held in the sun for 14 hours without food and water. Well, at one point, I did ask for some water and some food for the people who were arrested with me. The soldier standing nearby said, "Do I look like a chef to you?" Indeed, he did not look like a chef, so it was my mistake. In any case, they hauled me off to the Belize City Jail. I spent 6 hours sleeping on a concrete floor and was finally released with no charges being filed. The following day, I asked for publicly an apology from the Prime Minister, who privately responded, "Who does he think he is?" to his close confidants. That was the beginning of my story. Since that time, I've had nothing but harassment from the authorities here. They've attempted to charge me with a variety of charges. The very first was running an antibiotics laboratory without a license. That didn't go very far, because what I was working on was actually a topical antiseptic, not an antibiotic, which we take systemically.
And by the way, before this interview, I did some more research on you. They've had national TV shows here in the U.S. about the little laboratory you've got that's discovering things in the rainforest and patenting plant derivatives and things. So you're an entrepreneur down there, well respected, because I did a lot of research before we did this interview, and it really does look like they're targeting you. Why do you think they began to come after you?
I have not played by the rules. The rules in Belize are if you're a rich foreigner, you have to pay your dues, and you pay them to the higher-ups in the government, the high officials. I've donated about $7 million worth of gear to every aspect of the Belizean economy, the Belizean police force, to schools, to charity organizations, you name it. But my donations, rather than giving the money to the government and letting them dole it out, where 90% of it goes to the families of the officials, I donate directly. For example, I bought boots for the entire Orange Walk Police Department. I got their sizes first, bought them, and requested an inventory of who they went to. Now, there's no way for the government to skim anything from that. I built a police station for the village of Carmelita, a very nice police station.
So there you go. I mean, you're a successful...
They did not like that because I should have given the government the money and let the government build the police station. So I'm not playing by the rules. I refuse to donate to either political party. The current party sent, just prior to the last election, just a few months before I was raided, by the way, an envoy demanding a large sum of money in exchange for which I would be treated very nicely. I ordered them off of my property. That was a serious mistake, foolishness. You can attribute it to my advancing age. But that was the beginning of my trouble.
Amazing. So you're a well-known inventor, well-known businessman, started all sorts of tourist businesses, tours, you name it, all over the islands, and you were not being shaken down, kind of like our founding fathers didn't want it to be shaken down, and so they've started trying to set you up, and now there was a murder, and it's convenient, and they want to basically send you down the river. I mean, is that a fair assumption of what your side of the story is?
I would say it's exactly my side of the story, and basically they're opportunists. Somebody's murdered right next door to me. Well, not right next door, so, a few hundred yards down the beach. Perfect. Let's grab the bastard.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, most people know the story. It's been one of the biggest stories the last few weeks. And here you are. You've been communicating via text and things. Now you're on the air. Obviously, national media is going to be tuning into this. A, what do you want to say to the national media? B, what do you want to say to the Belizean authorities? If you can call the CD operators that, what would you like to say to them as well? And then where do you want to see all this go?
Okay, well, first of all, what I'd like to say to the national media is, number one, I'd like to make an apology to Jeff Wise, the intrepid reporter who has been bulldogging my ass for 2.5 years now for unknown reasons. In an effort to understand his animosity, I confused him with yet another reporter that reported on my flying activities in New Mexico. During that time, I did probably 20 magazine interviews. I publicly stated that Jeff had acted improperly to one of the women. Unfortunately, when I was going to actually post the picture, when I got the picture, it was a different reporter.
Okay, so you're correcting that. That's good.
It was horrifying. Go ahead, sir.
No, so you're correcting that now. I'm
correcting that now. My apology. To the rest of the media, I would say, get a life. Let's do some real reporting. Everything in the national media is basically regurgitating what somebody else has said. So we're not getting the news third hand. We're getting it 50th hand. So get a life, get a job, a real job. To the Belizean authorities, please take a look in the mirror. As to where this is heading, sir, I have no clue. I'm flying this by the seat of my pants and taking this a moment at a time.
Now, what's the best website for people to visit to find your side of the story in text and also find out about the reward?
The best website is whoismcafee.com. It's my blog. Also, we have an official Twitter site. It's just called Official McAfee. I very strongly would advise people to go to my blog site, whoismcafee.com, to get my side of the events. And also, 3 of my best friends have also been arrested on my behalf, unfortunately. This is the way they do it here in Belize. If they can't grab you, they grab your friends, your wife, if they can grab them, your children, and arrest them. They have been arrested and are being held in prison unjustly. On my website are all the email addresses that you can write to please demand their release. They have nothing whatsoever to do with anything.
Well, again, sir, I want to believe you. You sound legitimate to me. I already knew who you were. I did some research. I also, again, have been to Belize many times since I was a child, and my father's been down there even more to scuba dive with my mother, and he researched the area and talked to friends that lived down there over the years who left, saying that even if you don't have a lot of money, the government tries to shake you down. The people overall are pretty good folks, but it is a famous, kind of pirate cove, archipelago of islands down there. And so that's why I tend to lean towards believing what you're saying, knowing what I know about the so-called Belizean government that might as well have the Jolly Roger as their official symbol. But any other points you'd like to make on that front? And, I mean, obviously you don't want to get into how you're evading specifically, but first tell us about the reward.
Okay, I've offered a $25,000 Belize reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of the real killer of Mr. Falk. That's obviously in my interest. I'm not doing it out of altruism. I don't quite believe in altruism, but I'm a man of my word. If someone provides information which does get the real killer, you will get the money. That's your first question about the Jolly Roger. Keep in mind, Belize was founded as a pirate colony.
That's why I said that, yeah.
And for 200 years, it had no flag other than the Jolly Roger. The British, when they took it over, didn't really take it over as a country. They were actually helping the pirates because the pirates attacked the Spanish galleons coming from South America that had to go right by the reef outside. And so Belize was a benefit to the British and continued to be a benefit up until the 1950s. And that's when England abandoned it. As with many colonies that England has abandoned, self-governance is not as easy as it first appears.
No kidding. Continuing here, I could ask so many questions, and I will, but what else do you, I mean, obviously you're now just not writing on your blog. You've reached out to Infowars.com to speak to folks. Why did you reach out to us?
I'll be really frank with you, sir. My advisor suggested it. This is the very first time I've had contact with your show, not because of disinterest, but because the bandwidth here in this country does not support podcasts.
No, I understand. Okay, I just knew that you'd reached out to us. I mean,
I'm surprised you have not asked about drug use. The famous blue light hoax that occurred earlier in the year, the intimidations that I am on a substance called MDPV. You've asked some very soft questions so far, sir. I would suggest moving to hardball.
Okay, well, no, I mean, it's not that. It's just that we've seen all the demonization in the media, and so I always go with the little guy, because it's better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man go to jail. So I kind of take the defense attorney position in life because I grew up seeing the system posing as good guys, generally being the bad guys. Now maybe my life experiences skewed me towards always being for the underdog. I just wanted to, since you contacted us, I wanted to give you a chance to basically lay out all your points before we got into any hardball questions, as you call them.
All right. I think my points have been laid out, and I have appreciated that opportunity, sir. So,
well, okay, let's get into the standard. Let's get into standard media questions then. Where are you right now? How are you hiding now? How dare you kill that man? I mean, if you want those type of questions, you know you did it, McAfee. Just turn yourself in; it'll go easier on you. Come out with your hands up. Sure. No, seriously. How are you evading these guys so successfully?
Okay, number one, I did not kill Mr. Falls. That's the most absurd allegation of my entire life. Number two, I really cannot say anything about where I am, how I've evaded detection, what I look like, or anything else. I apologize for being evasive, but by saying something on a show of your size, I know for a fact the Belizean authorities are listening as we speak. So please forgive me for my
no. And listen, I was playing devil's advocate. I mean, obviously you are a innocent man until proven guilty, and I don't think you would do this. I don't think you'd go down the beach and kill somebody, when you have so much to lose. And I don't trust the Belizean authorities. But obviously people are wondering, well, you told me off air, you just said somebody of, quote, your age who's been around certainly knows how to hide out. And I guess your point is, that you're streetwise.
I am streetwise. The first half of my life was spent sort of on the streets. So 33 or 34 years ago, my life changed radically. hopefully for the better. When I stopped using drugs, I stopped drinking alcohol. I have not had a sip of wine, beer, or anything else in over 30 years, neither have I taken drugs in that period of time. I will be honest, I have started smoking cigarettes again, which some people call a drug, and I will fess up to that.
Why do you think they're claiming in the media?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
And I also drink coffee, which contains caffeine, which if you have 4 or 5 espressos is a pretty speedy hit. But beyond that, that's the extent of my drug use.
What would you like to see, best case scenario, them start a real investigation instead of just saying you did it?
Well, I would love a real investigation. However, it's not in the government's interest. If the real murderer is found, then suddenly this whole opportunity to remove McAfee as a major thorn in the government side simply disappears.
Now, again, you've had national media in your lab. I've seen the newscast. You're very proud of what you developed. You've told the press that you believe it's when you came up with this tropical antiseptic that they wanted, or a topical antiseptic that they came after you.
Well, at that point, obviously, had I continued and been successful, it would have been, a multi-billion-dollar company, and the government would want their dues. However, it became also clear that I am not a game player, not by the game that's played here, and that just pissed everybody off. It's just not the way the system works. The government allows you to do something, and in exchange, you have to pay up. I don't mind doing that if you want to do it in the form of taxes and tax everyone. I don't care how unjustly or how skewed it may be. But for someone to come and say, here, give me $5 million, that doesn't cut it. My answer is get the fuck off my property. Excuse my language, sir.
No, and I've been reading news articles where they do talk about claiming that you were on a forum bragging that you developed some new drug that you were on. I mean, anybody could go to a forum and say that in fact, they do stuff like that, that I'm developing a drug. In fact, I've had them say that about me. I had to sue somebody one time, saying, just making it up. I mean, I've never been involved in any drugs, period. I mean, I've been Mr. Straight my whole life, other than stealing beer out of golf carts a few times on the golf course growing up. When we come back, I want to ask you about those allegations, though, straight ahead, and any other points you want to make. And who knows, he's on with us. He can stay on us a little bit longer before he goes on Joe Rogan's show after our show ends. Perhaps we should open the phones up for John McAfee.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the Info War in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. right, John McAfee, sex, drugs, and antivirus software. And there he is looking like the older brother of Rob Zombie with his 12-gauge shotgun and a smile on his face. It looks like, you know, for a guy your age, you're in pretty good shape, buddy. Looks like you were having a little too much fun down there, but you say you didn't kill this guy. You know nothing about it. How were you able to get the heads up and get away from them before they came and threw you in their Belizean jail?
I saw the police coming up the beach. They're remarkably inept when it comes to hiding themselves.
Well, sure. And instead, and you'd already been harassed by them quite a bit, so I guess you knew to get out of there.
I did.
Okay, specifically, we were talking during the break. Why are you reaching out to Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, and why are you going with alternative media?
Okay, I'm reaching out to both you and Joe because my advisors suggested it. To be really frank, I'd never heard your show before, nor Joe Rogan's. Again, not because of disinterest, but because we... No,
but that's a good place to go because we're at least real people.
So that's why I'm on there. But the internet, because if you look at traditional news, traditional media, it's nothing more than regurgitation of what's been said. Whereas on the internet, you are more real-time. You have access to more facilities, and it tends to be a little truer story.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, because I don't have somebody pulling my strings. And I can tell you, big network people, they've got people pulling their strings. They're reading off teleprompters. So at least here we're having a real discussion, you know, person to person, man to man. Now, expanding, I guess I'll put my foot in my mouth because, I mean, I wouldn't make these statements. You say you don't use drugs, so why are you on a drug forum making these comments? I made the leap, but then I see how ridiculous the comments are. It makes sense. You were being sarcastic. Tell folks about the MDPV. You were making jokes about bath salts.
Right. It wasn't actually making jokes. I was trying to sound as serious as possible. To tell the story, about 10 years ago, a drug showed up in Europe called MDPV-10. Now, MDPV stands for methylene dioxypyrovalerone. The drug was the magical sex drug. It's what the world's been looking for as the ultimate marital aid. It was obviously a made-up story, but millions of people believed it. They kept talking about it. They were still talking about it on Blue Light, which is the world's largest drug forum board. On a bet from a friend, I went online and created a thread that went on for more than 1,000 posts. Now, it was so absurdly false. Now, think about it. If I had rediscovered MDPV-10, I wouldn't be going to manufacture it. I would take a sample of the formula, walk into the Bayer offices, you know, and the president of the company on his knees would hand me a check for $1 billion while he was muttering, "The world is ours." I mean, it's absurd, totally absurd. And
well, that may be why you got raided, because the idiot Belizean authorities knew you were running a laboratory. You've been on the news about it. They probably thought you had it and were going to torture you to get it.
Well, thank God they didn't torture me. I got out of jail in time and took refuge on the island. But it was so obviously a prank, so obviously, because that board does have legitimate chemists on it. All couple of hundred of them who were reading it, they all said, "This is a hoax. People don't believe this crap." And so they left. But the rank and file, they just kept the thing going. I mean, anybody who reads it will know, obviously.
No, my gut tells me that you screwed around about this.
I had all kinds of things, but my God, had I developed that, had I rediscovered the formula, trust me, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Sure, my gut tells me.
I would be a Bayer executive, not having to work.
John McAfee's our guest, the software developer, famous, and now even more famous, being a murder suspect in Belize. We're back in 60 seconds. Let's talk about it. Do I 100% believe John McAfee did not commit this murder that he's alleged to have committed by the Belizean police? No. But do I put any stock in the Belizean government? The answer is absolutely not. And my gut tells me that he's a very eccentric person, but there is something else afoot here. Now, I could be wrong, but I am certainly more than happy to let this gentleman be heard, and we're glad that he chose this broadcast to do it first, other than text that he's been having with the media. And, you know, I should, in the time we've got left, Twitter. Go to twitter.com/RealAlexJones, and I can pull this up during the break. Tweet me, and then, guys, print them off for me, because I'll be busy trying to go through them, then I won't get to it. Tweet right now to Real Alex Jones, or I guess we should tweet out questions for John McAfee to Real Alex Jones if you've got a few questions for him. But repeat to me, sir, what you just said in that 1-minute break as we ended the last hour. I said, who do you think killed Gregory Fall, the guy that was down the beach from you? And you had a very interesting answer. Please repeat that.
Okay. The first thing that came to my mind, and this perhaps bolsters those who say I am paranoid. My first thought was that the government had sent someone to kill me, pretending it would be a robbery, and they simply got the wrong white man and got a neighbor instead. That thought didn't stay for long. But quite frankly, sir, I have no idea who killed Mr. Fall.
I mean, why would you kill Mr. Fall when you've got all these beautiful boats and businesses and all this money? I mean, you sold, what, your antivirus company for $100 million? I mean, why on earth, you're down there, you look happy in these photos, why on earth would you go down the beach and blow your neighbor away?
That's the entire point. Plus, I barely knew my neighbor. Now, to be frank, he was not my favorite character. He drank a lot. He did not like my dogs. They barked a lot at night, and it annoyed him. And to be frank, they annoyed me too, and I fully sympathized with him.
Yeah, my dogs annoy me too.
My dogs were poisoned, by the way, the night before, and I had to put 4 of them down. But Mr. Fall also had dogs. Dog lovers do not kill dogs. This is a fact of life. If you have a dog, you know this is a fact, sir.
No, I agree.
It could not have been Mr. Fall who killed my dogs, and that is what the government is saying. That because he poisoned my dogs, I then shot him. I can't think of anything more absurd.
So you are innocent. Tell people. I mean, state it. People want to hear it in your words.
Well, I am innocent. I'm absolutely innocent. It is not something that I would ever do to anyone under any circumstances. I mean, if I really were that pissed at someone, I would want them alive so that I could continue to torment them in other ways. I mean, it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, if somebody poisoned my dogs, I would find them, and I'd say, okay, get ready for a fist fight. I'd say, put your fist up, punk. And I would probably, get in a fight with them. I certainly wouldn't kill somebody. Actually, my Chihuahua is 15 years old, and I love it, but I might give them a check if they killed it. I'm joking. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know that you're joking, sir.
No, I'm being sure. Well, sometimes I tell you, that dog's barking at 3 a.m. I love the dog, though. It's like an heirloom. It was a year old when I met my wife, and now it's 15 years old and blind and stumbles around all over the house urinating on the rugs. But anyway, side issue, sir. We've got a final segment coming up. What do you want to cover when we come back?
Anything you want. I understand that you just Twittered for questions. I can assure you some of those were going to be very intense. Can you please the ones that would paint me in the worst light, sir?
Yes. Why did you want me to be more aggressive earlier against you? I mean, is that...
Only because I didn't want it to come off. I don't want the program to come off sounding like, that this is a one-sided program. I think programs that present two sides are always better. No,
I agree with you, but here's the deal. There's a guy who had 2 teens break in his house in Minnesota. He shot one. They started laughing, which I believe that's how trendies are. They think if they laugh, something isn't real. So he shot him again. They're charging him with murder. They're going to use that to take my right to shoot people that come in my house because the guy said, yeah, I probably shouldn't have shot him that many times. If you're innocent, bro, you don't need to show both sides and show you're reasonable. The system's going to use that against you. You should just stick to the facts.
Yes, sir.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
Okay, we got one segment left here on this Tuesday show with John McAfee, the tech pioneer to murder suspect. Terra.com has a bunch of hard statements, claims they make about him, so he wants hard questions. I'll throw them at him. You want it, you got it. I was planning a few of those, but I wanted to let him have his say first. But here are some of the questions we've got coming in at Real Alex Jones on Twitter. Is the antivirus business legit, or are the same companies creating viruses to push their products? As we've always heard, or is that a urban legend, or is it a mix of both? I mean, I know our government created Stuxnet, launched it on Iran, and then said they wanted cybersecurity takeover in the name of fighting Stuxnet, which they admittedly created with Israel. So what's your breakdown on that? Because you're the big granddaddy of antivirus, Mr. McAfee.
Okay, I'd first like to say that I've had absolutely nothing to do with the antivirus business for 20 years, but the idea that antivirus companies would create viruses is utterly absurd because there are hundreds of thousands of people out there doing it as we speak, why would you waste money? Why would you waste the effort? You know, if I were running an antivirus company and I had the choice of hiring a programmer to fight the viruses to make my product better or hiring one to create a virus, only a madman would do the first.
Because there's so many new viruses, what you want to do is create something to counter them, but also go out and hype how deadly the virus is.
Absolutely. Now, you might market how deadly they are, and maybe you might exaggerate that, I don't know, but even then there's no need. But certainly creating them would be counterproductive, and such a company I don't think would last long in this business. Yeah,
it would be very, very reckless. I think that's more of a government purview or against other... Sure. Against other governments. Great question. More questions coming up. Okay, you want tough questions? Here it is. McAfee retires to Belize, setting up Ambergris Key. I've stayed on Ambergris Key, a tiny island 36 miles off the coast. He builds a fence compound and staffs it with armed guards. Yeah, when I used to fly in, it was a dirt runway. February 2010, Quorum EX, a new venture by McAfee, headquartered in Belize, launches its purpose to develop commercial antibiotics. In 2012, one of his properties is raided by Belize Police Force Gang Suppression Unit as he is arrested but not charged on suspicion of making crystal meth and possessing unlicensed firearms. In the raid, he is reportedly pulled out of bed with a 17-year-old girlfriend. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes, sir.
So you probably would be, it wouldn't be in trouble if you were a congressman chasing a 14-year-old page, though, male page.
Or even a female page at 14. The age of consent in Belize is 16. I did not say I was a perfect man. Everybody has their likes and dislikes. I like women. Some men like bowling, golf. It's my choice. Perhaps it's an unwise choice to be hanging out with a 17-year-old girl when I could be, especially in this country, her great-grandfather. But that does not make me a murderer.
No, I don't think it does. Okay, continuing here with these points. Hey, you interrogate yourself. You want tough questions. What are some tough questions I should be asking?
Good Lord.
Are you the Easter Bunny?
Much made of the fact that I was living with multiple women. Again, I would give the same answer. We all have our likes and dislikes. I'm not sure. Did you get no Twitter responses, sir?
No, I've got a ton of them coming in, but we just tweeted it during the break, and
sorry.
And my problem is I can't really walk and chew gum, so I could go to my tweet. They're actually bringing me a whole stack of questions here right now. Here, I'll ask you the questions. Ask him if he is concerned his guns will never be given back, and if he will be an excuse for the government needs to outlaw them. Well, I mean, they've already pretty much restricted them in Belize, right? So there's a question about guns.
Yeah, the question comes, all of my guns were licensed. Why did I have so many? When I moved to the mainland, to the interior on the river, I was the only white man living in an entire district of 30,000 people. And I was apparently wealthy. I had cars, I had big houses. It's an extremely poor district. It was unwise for me to display my wealth, perhaps. But we had many, many robbery attempts, and it just occurred to me that there's no way to protect myself and my property without security. Hence the guns. As to will they be given back, for 7 months I've been attempting to get them back. Through lawyers, the embassy tried once. The government refuses, saying, we have not concluded our investigation.
Well, I mean, you can never have enough guns. So, I mean, they're a great investment, and it's like a dragon's hoard. They say the more gold a dragon has, the more psychic they are, the more guns you have, just the better you sleep at night. I mean, don't you, it's fun to, like, sleep on giant crates full of 50 calibers. Don't you agree?
Well, I'm not sure about that, sir, but I think under some circumstances, guns are, in fact, necessary.
Yeah, well, I like to personally... it's just, you sleep better on just a huge mountain of crates of firearms and ammunition.
I'm not sure. I've never tried it, but perhaps you're right.
No, I'm serious. There's something magic about it. Okay, I'm being a little sarcastic. Not really.
All right.
It's actually kind of ridiculous. I don't need to get near gun shops is the point. I'm not really a big shopper unless I enter a gun shop. And, well, you ever seen Rodney Dangerfield in... what's the movie Caddyshack? When he goes, I'll take one of those, 2 of those, and 3 of those. Oh, look at this hat. Looks good on you. Okay, what is his take on Steve Jobs' death? You want questions? Here they are.
I'm not sure what the relevance is, but I thought that Steve Jobs was certainly one of the premier entrepreneurs of America. He was one of the few that had heart and sense. His passing was tragic.
Okay, here's another one.
For those who are interested, I would recommend strongly his commencement address to Stanford, probably one of the finest commencement addresses I have ever heard, and very moving. I actually cried at the end.
Wow. Interesting. Here's a serious question. Why don't you give yourself to the authorities for due process?
Because the due process of throwing me in a cell, hanging me with my own belt, and then telling the world that Mr. McAfee, in shame, hung himself, is not exactly what I would like to do this day.
Yeah, I had the Rockwall cops tell me they were going to kill me in a jail cell. I didn't stop talking about their drug dealing, so I believe you. How do you feel about the outcome of the election here in the U.S.?
Well, I had predicted it well in advance. You know, since I don't live there anymore, it doesn't affect me very much, but I have no problems with Mr. Obama. To be frank, sir, I try to divorce myself from political affiliations. I think that in the end, no matter which party wins, nothing changes.
I got a bunch of other, I'm just reading all these questions, trying to think of which one to read, because a bunch of them are profane. It says, if you went camping when you woke up and your bleep was greasy, would you tell anyone? See, that's the problem. And there's a whole bunch more of these coming in. They're printing them off to bring them into me. Well, you know, when this interview ends...
Sounds like the comments I get on my blog that I have to unfortunately filter through.
Exactly, but let's expand on this. After you leave us in 5 minutes, you'll undoubtedly wish you would have said something. Let's say that now. What do you most importantly want to transmit to the Belizean authorities in their little greasy, tight-fitting police uniforms? I mean, I've seen the Belizean police. They look like something directly out of central casting of third world seedy people, but I'm not trying to be mean, but it is a fact. What would you like to say to them? I'm sure. But you know what? Maybe just because they're bad, I'm thinking you're good. I mean, how do we know?
No, and I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even say they're bad, sir. I think by and large, the Belizean police are decent people. They get paid the equivalent of less than $1 an hour. And they're expected to do work that puts their life in danger. It isn't the police itself. It's the bureaucracy that supports them and controls them. It's the higher-ups that use the police for their own interests, you know, to usher their drug deals and protect their own interests rather than protect the public. So
you don't think there's any narcotics?
Don't think that I am bashing the Belizean police as a people. I'm bashing the higher-ups in the government for their outrageous selfishness and greed.
Are you related to Rob Zombie?
Am I what?
Rob Zombie, the rock and roll star. You look a lot like him, or he looks like you. You're not really
I don't think I'm related, but then, you know, there's much in my family background I don't know about, so who knows?
You're not really his father, are you?
God, I hope not.
Just joking. I'm going to stop right now. Well, listen, it's really interesting talking to you. What do you do you know about the New World Order, the global government, the NSA spying on people, the cancer viruses and the vaccines? Ever heard about that?
Of course. Well, there is a New World Order. We all know that, but I think that I would point my finger first at the global press, not yourself, sir. I'm talking about the classical press that is interested in making money and making it as quickly as possible and making it through sensationalism and perversion of the facts. I think that we first get our ideas from what we see on television and what we read in the press. Do you think that we could have convinced the world that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq if we had not first had the press convince us?
No, that's right. They prepare the mind for it. Here's another question. Have you ever tried bath salts or any Schedule I drugs?
Absolutely not.
Well,
they didn't have those when I was doing drugs some 30-odd years ago. I'm sure I would have at the time, but no, I did not have the opportunity.
Well, you don't look like you're doing drugs. You look like you're doing the Caribbean sun and, you know, living at the beach. From the photos I've seen, the recent photos from Wired Magazine, you name it, you look like you found the fountain of youth, buddy.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. At my age, you have no idea how good that sounds.
How old are you exactly?
67.
67 years old. And if you're doing methamphetamine, I'm a monkey's uncle.
I appreciate that, sir. I would be a monkey's uncle, too.
All right, we only got a minute left. You've got our number. You've got our contact. You got my producer's number. If you're in the middle of something and they're coming after you, we can call you and we can record it right here so we can get it on the air at the latest, I mean, even late at night, as soon as possible. So you've got our contact info. And you can also call my producer's phone. It's got a recording app on it so that we can catch anything. And I'll talk to you during the break, okay? Anything else you'd like to add?
That's it. And believe me, sir, when I do see the police closing in, I will pick up my phone and I will call this number and I will start talking and will not stop until they forcibly wrest the phone from my fist.
Well, we've also got some backup numbers that will actually automatically record. Let's get him that number. Get the IT guys. I forget the number. John, we'll give you that. And again, I hope you're innocent. I hope you're telling the truth. Certainly got to side with an American against the Belizean police when their story doesn't add up. And there is a history of them persecuting you and having to release you. So I don't know. I think you're telling the truth, but I may be wrong. I'm not often wrong about things like this. John McAfee, they say he's the devil. I say he deserves to be heard. You just heard him. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want. Up with armed men, and he's offering a huge reward to find out who really killed the person in Belize that they're saying he's the main suspect in. And, of course, he's the inventor of one of the most well-known antivirus software, John McAfee. And he worked for Lockheed until '87, then ventured into the antivirus business as one of the first people to understand that was a obvious problem out there with the viruses. And he joins us now. He's been on many TV shows with his different businesses down in Belize for tourists and things. And then he got raided by police in a bizarre event. And then now they're saying down there in the piratical area of former British Honduras, what is Belize, beautiful area, I've been there many times, that he's the murder suspect. Now, most of you probably already know that. John McAfee. Well, he's coming to us first, and I'm find it flattering and interesting that he's a listener. He's going to be on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast coming up later this afternoon. I talked to Joe, by the way, this morning. Joe's going to be on with us, I think Thursday. He's got his national tour going around the country. Always great to have my friend Joe Rogan on the show. But it's funny, I talked to Joe this morning and then separately talked to John McAfee, and he was telling me that he was going to be on Joe's show. It's just a plug there. I hope they don't come after him. He's been on the phone with a Forbes writer when the police show up.
He got up calmly, got dressed, sat on the edge of the bed. I went outside, was grabbed by a bunch of people, slammed up against the wall, and told that they were there with a search warrant for an illegal meth lab, meth meaning methamphetamines. I was handcuffed, held in the sun for 14 hours without food and water. Well, at one point, I did ask for some water and some food for the people who were arrested with me. The soldier standing nearby said, "Do I look like a chef to you?" Indeed, he did not look like a chef, so it was my mistake. In any case, they hauled me off to the Belize City Jail. I spent 6 hours sleeping on a concrete floor and was finally released with no charges being filed. The following day, I asked for publicly an apology from the Prime Minister, who privately responded, "Who does he think he is?" to his close confidants.
About the reward that people can find there on your website that I'll also put up on screen.
Well, thank you, Alex. I'm really happy to be here. This breaks my boredom tremendously. I've been living in a very constrained environment for a while, so this is quite a thrill for me. Okay, where did it start? It started the last day of April of this year, when at 6 in the morning I was woken up to the sound of bullhorns, dogs barking, and gunfire, and got out of bed, stark raving naked, went out on my porch and saw 42 armed soldiers with automatic weapons in full riot gear storming my property. When I heard the commotion, I picked up a handgun, which I keep for protection. I put the handgun down on the step, went back inside, put my pants on, woke up my girlfriend.
From tech pioneer to murder suspect is one of the headlines. McAfee on the run, murder and mayhem, but few taxes in Belize. That's Forbes. The continuing story of John McAfee is told by John McAfee. So he is speaking out And McAfee's former girlfriend says the internet pioneer is fighting for his life. And he is on with us today. Sir, thank you for reaching out to us, because I have to tell you, when I saw this break in the last few weeks, I was like, that sounds like pure bull to me, that, you know, what they're saying happened. Plus, the Belizean police, I've only been out there 8 or 9 times, but I've read about it. I mean, they're well known for being pretty darn corrupt, but I've seen them do some shady things in Belize City. But enough of me. You've got the floor. Good to have you here. Start at the beginning. Tell us what really happened, or as best you can tell, and where all this is going. And